It was my first night working the graveyard shift as a security guard at a large old warehouse on the outskirts of town. The building was massive, with long, dimly lit corridors and towering shelves that seemed to stretch endlessly into the shadows. The hum of the fluorescent lights above was the only sound, a constant companion in the silence of the night. Around 2 a.m., I began my usual rounds. The air was thick with the scent of dust and aged wood. As I walked past the rows of crates, I felt it, a sudden, inexplicable chill that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I paused, scanning the area, but saw nothing unusual. Dismissing it as a draft, I continued my patrol. But then, I heard it. Faint at first, like a whisper carried on the wind. "Help me." The voice was soft, almost pleading. I froze, heart pounding in my chest. I was alone. There was no one else in the building. I followed the sound, my flashlight trembling in my grip. It led me to a secluded corner of the warehouse where an old, rusted door stood ajar. The voice was louder now, more distinct. "Please, help me." With a deep breath, I pushed the door open. Inside was a small, cluttered room filled with old furniture and boxes. In the center stood a tall figure, cloaked in shadows. Its face was obscured, but I could feel its eyes upon me. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The figure tilted its head, as if considering my question. Then, in a voice that sent a shiver down my spine, it replied, "I'm the one who watches over the night." Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. I stumbled back, heart racing, and when the lights returned, the figure was gone. The next night, I returned to work, determined to prove to myself that the previous night's events were a figment of my imagination. But as the hours passed, the unease returned. The temperature dropped, and the whispering voice echoed through the halls again. "Help me."
I followed the sound, my footsteps echoing in the silence. The voice led me to the same room, but this time, the door was locked. I pounded on it, calling out, but there was no response. Frustrated, I turned to leave, but something caught my eye. A small, old photograph was pinned to the wall. It was a picture of the warehouse, taken decades ago. In the foreground stood a group of workers, and among them was a man I recognized, the figure from the previous night. My blood ran cold. How could this be? The man in the photo was supposed to have died years ago in a tragic accident on the job. Determined to uncover the truth, I began researching the history of the warehouse. What I discovered was more horrifying than I could have imagined. The man in the photograph was indeed a former employee who had died in a freak accident. But the most chilling part was the legend that had grown around his death. They said his spirit never left the warehouse, that he wandered the halls at night seeking help for unfinished business, and that anyone who encountered him would be marked, destined to become part of his eternal watch. As the nights wore on, the encounters became more frequent. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. "Help me. Join me." The figure appeared in the shadows, watching, waiting. I tried to leave, to escape the nightmare, but it was too late. The warehouse had claimed me, just as it had claimed so many before.